So I guess this is nice. This takes us through to this will probably be the last part of the episode.
Mhm.
And I'll just bring up all three at once. I want to talk about resources people can use outside of DBC to work on coding that we have found that are really good. And all of those we'll put in the information below the video. I want to talk about how best to prep for phase 0, which is a very similar topic, but like I said, like Code Wars is not something I'd recommend to someone starting coding. That's something I recommend like once you're in the curriculum. And I also want to just talk about general thoughts on phase 0, put a nice little feather in our cap, like, oh, we did this. On Chicago campus, at least, they apparently are giving all of us shirts that say, I survived phase 0.
Nice.
Which warms my heart.
Dude, I love free clothing.
Yeah. Like, that's a shirt I'll actually wear.
Yeah.
And I really was stressed out. I'm like, oh my God, I got to say the right shirt size. Because there's this whole meme my friends showed me that was, I think it's called Smediums.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about how all these guys are in between a small shirt and a medium shirt. And the small shirt's just a little too tight, which, you know, like, I work out. And, like, the medium shirt's just, like, a little too baggy.
Yeah.
So it's so I'm stuck wearing shirts sometimes, especially, well, dress shirts you can get around it depending on where you shop, but like
I get that feeling though that's like for marges as well.
Yeah, like some shirts though, there's just like the chest is just like exploding, and everyone is like, are your clothes getting tighter? And I'm like, well, I'm getting bigger, but my waist is staying the same size. You know, like I'm still like 30 for my waist. but yes, like this is a real problem.
Oh man.
Oh man. So
great tools for supplementing your learning.
Yeah. Let's talk about what would you do? What would you use if you wanted to get the most out of your phase 0 experience?
Man, you know, there's so many resources. Like we
there's too many
hours
for starters, but
Ruby guides, JavaScript guides, done guides.
Yeah. So like, what are the best for you personally? Maybe that's a better way of framing it. Like your favorites.
I think the best for me personally, I think of all of the Ruby stuff we'll be talking about, is learnenough.com. I'm not being paid to promote this.
No, I haven't. Yeah, there are no. Hey, I'm happy to take endorsement deals. I'll say that now. I'm not above profiting off of free tools and information I put out there.
You need.
I mean, if your product is shit, I'm not going to endorse it. But yeah, if it's a great product, I'm yeah. Let the endorsements come in. Send me a coffee mug. That's all it takes.
Or a t-shirt. I love a free shirt. I love free clothes so much. No, either way,
those are not enough for me. But
learn enough.
A good coffee mug, not like a crappy one. You know.
Okay, I can take a coffee mug. That's right. Learn enough is wonderful because you need to understand that, like, in the same vein of like, what's the best programming language? What do I need to learn to like be a programmer? You're going to be working on your computer for the rest of your damn life. So your interface, your environment, it better be like home to you. And I think Learn Enough was wonderful because I think you can pay for extra. I think he has like a Rails tutorial, yada, yada. But there are 3 free sources on that website that go over the command line, the terminal, a text editor, and Git. These 3 things are going to be what you use on a daily basis as a programmer. It doesn't matter what language you're working with, zip not a squat. You're going to be on your computer. You're going to be screwing around the terminal all of the time. And for like SQLite 3, understanding like terminal shortcuts, how to like clear lines quickly, how to like click in specific portions of the terminal. This is stuff for like when I'm pairing with people and they're trying to make adjustments. The little things like hitting the up arrow to recall a previous command you've typed.
Oh yeah, that's all.
Like,
I've learned all that stuff from partners. I did not. It would have saved me a lot of time if I had known that beforehand.
Study the heck out of those 3 topics, because if you can work your interface like you know it, you don't have to worry about that while you're trying to code complicated Ruby and JavaScript functions. So easily Learn Enough to be dangerous, with like Oh My Zish as a close second, just because I'm a huge fan of customization and making my interface as pretty and approachable as possible. And then the programming just comes naturally at that point because I can focus on it then.
Yeah, that reminds me of music. It's like you need to work on your chops and technique, which that's not the goal. Like the goal is musicality and doing something of value, but like you want enough technique to be able to do whatever you're trying to do without having to like get caught up in the physical side of it. Like you want clarity. So you want your technique has to be good enough to play what you're trying to play, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, you can't play the drums with like the sticks backwards. That's not how drums work.
Well, it's funny. Technically you can. And sometimes people do. But it's a different sound. It's a specific circumstance. And you need to know how to do that too. But no. It's a great analogy for someone that's not a drummer.
You just, you got to know your environment, man. Because we could talk for hours on like Code Academy this and Wise Poignant Guide and POODR and all of these resources. But like, I think from what I've gathered from phase 0 is whenever I'm pairing with folks, and maybe I'm being an elitist in the sense of like, if I see a terminal that's just like the basic OSX terminal, I go, oh man, like you got to dig deeper. There's so much more that you can do to like make your programming so much comfier. And that's
no, this is great because that is a legitimate criticism of me. Like, I'm using Sublime. I think I grabbed a pretty good I forgot what the program's called for using the command line. Like I'm not just using the basic one on my Mac now that I have one. I started on a PC when the curriculum started, and I switched over. I bought a MacBook Air.
Oh, so you're using iTerm then, right? That's usually the hot one. But just anything other than the OSX default is a good one.
Yeah, well, I downloaded one. Like I didn't use the default Mac one. Okay, I'll say how best to prep for phase 0. So I would recommend to people that you use. I used Code Academy, and that was freaking great. And actually, so the parts of the curriculum I struggled with were the parts I didn't get to use Code Academy for. And I think I talked about this in the last episode, but short summary, the time I was using to prep for code school and then train Muay Thai for fun during the day, like I took a vacation to Thailand for a couple of months. But then I got like a last minute contract, and it was right when I was going to start doing other parts of the program. So I had done like all the HTML, CSS tracks on Code Academy they had, and they had more than one, and they like were introducing a new one. It's overkill, so I did that. I'd done the Ruby track, which they used to require for your interviews with DBC. But even though I'd done that a year and a half before we started doing Ruby, it did make it a lot easier. So I would recommend doing the Ruby track. But what I did not get to do, and it would have made better, is I didn't get to do the SQLite. I didn't get to do jQuery, and I didn't get to do JavaScript. And I might even do those during our week-long break. Partway in the curriculum. I'm not saying Code Academy is the best way to learn a language, but I do think it is a great beginner introduction. And they use a lot of terms that we didn't even get introduced really into in the curriculum. And there's some commands like I learned there that they didn't teach us in the curriculum yet, just because I guess they're not common commands you'd use. And it's funny, actually, when we're talking about how to study, apparently when I say for my DBC interview, I found these when I was going through stuff I was throwing out. And I have like all these like note cards talking about like, just like further notes. Oh, the exclamation symbol modifies a statement so that it, I don't know if it's displaying backwards on there.
Bang.
Okay, the bang symbol.
Bangerana.
And like I'd written down one that's like a bunch of methods. I did some like iterator. It's the title. And then I defined it on the back. And that was just so like I could study. Oh, because being on ships, I wouldn't be able to have Wi-Fi all the time. So let me keep studying while I was there. And right before I go to bed, I get off my computer because it keeps me awake, ideally. And so at least at the time, I was good at it. So I was using the flashcards to study before going to bed, and then like over coffee in the morning, because I try to have a little bit of time before I go on my computer in the morning to like, I don't know, just a good start to the day. Like journal.
But I agree on the Code Academy for Ruby thing. Definitely. I think the most important one would be Ruby, because if you are like jumping into SQLite 3 and the other ones in Code Academy, I mean, cool, awesome. But like Ruby is the big hitter for phase 0.
I think also HTML, CSS is really great to do on there. like definitely doing it with DBC really solidified my understanding in a way Code Academy did not. But I guess it's like understanding now how like Ruby gets incorporated into HTML. I appreciate now. I'm like, people don't talk about it as much, but yeah, like really learn HTML.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. To me, it's almost like knowing how to use Microsoft Word or something. Like
Yeah.
it's not the hardest. It's not the most technical. It's not what you're going to be paid the big bucks to use, but it's if you're really, really comfortable in it, it makes everything else a lot easier.
Yep.
So okay, so that's talking about how the prep. We've already been talking about a ton of resources, but so I guess in a general level, like what resources for someone that wanted to supplement their education, which we already talked about earlier in the episode, like you're barely a junior developer when you get out of this program. So there's a lot of ground you got to cover that's maybe it's covered in the curriculum, but you know, like it's a lot of material and there's a lot you're going to want to learn outside. So for me, at least, I think at least what I'm taking to heart, we'll see how it goes when I get out of school. I want to be as fluent in JavaScript when I get out of school as I am in Ruby, or at least be like at least like at 70% of what I can do at Ruby. So I'm trying to use resources to work on that. I suspect my first month out of school, I'm going to be teaching myself Python. I think jQuery I'd really like to explore. But okay, so talking about specific resources though, I guess I'll go first. I've already talked about Code Wars, and I think that's for anything once you're like sufficiently familiar with, that seems like the righteous and true path to becoming a true coder. And a lot of people talk about this, like a lot of master programmers will upload their work online into GitHub, and they don't have time to explain how the code or how things work, but they will make it public so you can look at it. And Code Wars seems kind of the same thing, where you can learn how people that are really fluent in the language will do the writing, and it's exactly like music or anything. You want to, what's the word? Like good writers write brilliant writing, great writers steal brilliant writing.
Yeah.
Like if you steal everything you can from master programmers, and that's so again just Code Wars, GitHub. I'm not doing the GitHub part. That's very hypocritical of me. But I think when I get out of school, I'm also going to make an effort to do a lot of open source projects. But other resources, the Well-Grounded Rubyist, I feel like everyone has recommended that book. I have started reading it. I'm like a couple chapters in. I really, really like it so far. There's this one book I encountered, and I can't remember the name of it. It's in Barnes & Noble. If I go back in the store and see it again, I'll write it in the comments. That was really great, and it just had to do with coding in general, like the art of programming. It wasn't even. Let's see what other sources. So Code Academy. I think that's a good start. Like Forces I said, but especially because you have a bunch of others. Like so, just like maybe mention ones we haven't mentioned, or recap the ones you have.
Sure. I think, and this kind of goes along the same line of getting prepared before Phase 0. If you're already doing code, so we're thinking Ruby. So for Code Academy, you've already got Ruby going down on there. Another great supplementary free online resource, and he's pretty darn popular. It's a wise Poignant guide to Ruby. I think what's really nice about this is, I mean, I'm talking third chapter. He explains almost all of the functions and syntax and classes of Ruby in layman terms. It's quick writing. It's easily digestible. It has foxes. Everyone loves foxes. And it's very easy to just like jam out and understand what the heck you're working with. So Wise Poignant Guide to Ruby is a great, like after Code Academy, look at that, and it's going to be ironed in. Afterwards, once you have like the philosophy and the syntax ironed in, because honestly, syntax is the easiest part of programming language. Like that's the easy part. The hard part is like developing the algorithms and the databases and how to solve a problem through that programming language. And that's when we start getting into design. And so the next book, and Dev Bootcamp definitely recommends it as well, is the Practical Object-Oriented Design in Ruby. Don't jump into this
Yeah.
not knowing any Ruby.
I haven't jumped into it yet, but
Yeah.
that's on my reading list.
But already, just like I'm 4 chapters in, and just the philosophy of how methods and how classes, and granted, this is for Ruby, but this is a philosophy that can go for any object-oriented language, like Python, for example. This one, Python, C++. So I once again, it's not huge. It's not a Bible. It's very digestible material, and it's supplemented with really great coding examples and just things that, like, you don't need to copy and paste these functions. It's more just to have like the understanding to look at a problem and how you're going to approach it. I think my favorite philosophy on this is that when you create something great in programming, it's a little difficult because there's no such thing as a program that doesn't change. Like if you create something great.
I think actually that's the book I'm thinking. I've started reading that. I have read a little bit of the Well-Grounded Rubyist, but that was actually like a month or two ago. That's the book I'm currently
change is so inevitable.
On my Kindle, yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna make something awesome, and you're gonna show it to someone, and they'll be like, "This is awesome." But can it do this as well? There's no such thing as like a static program. If you make something and it's amazing, awesome. You're going to be still adjusting it and working on it. And these types of books, POODR, what it's called on the internet, are really fantastic to try to like give your programming skills a little wiggle room to prevent having to like refactor everything if you make any small changes.
And how do you spell that? POODR.
POODR, POODR.
POODR. Okay. Yeah. Just so our listeners know, and I totally knew that. No. Just so like I know what to write like at the end.
For the adult rated boot camp.
Yeah.
No,
this is a podcast for adults by adults.
POODR, it's a really fantastic resource right now.
I think you said this. I think it's worth emphasizing again, though. Other than, and actually some of the books are free, I think, if you look online, but other than the books, which you're buying a book, all the resources I think we're talking about are 100% free. Like with Code Academy, you can pay to do extra stuff. I never did that. Which, I mean, if you're going to this program, you're paying for like a really involved curriculum. You don't, on the one hand, $10 isn't much. Like you can pay for the extra stuff on Code Academy, but
general consensus on Code Academy. I don't know if you agree, but it's awesome for understanding syntax. If you want to know the words that make the things do the thing in a language, just hit up Code Academy. It's super quick, gets it done. The issue is you don't really get to apply your knowledge too much in Code Academy, so it can kind of just leave your head afterwards.
Well, that's what I've noticed. The stuff I've done on Code Academy, that part of the curriculum at DBC was much easier for me to do. And the stuff I didn't do is where I struggled more with DBC.
Yep.
Which is why I said, like, hey, if you want to prep before you get here, this is a great way to do it. But yeah, it's not, if you do Code Academy, you're not going to be a developer. Even if you do all the tracks on there, it just doesn't.
Free.
But I think the best way to learn in general is expose yourself to the ideas multiple times. Like, don't just be like, oh, I did this already, there's no reason for me to do it again. No, that's totally the wrong attitude. Like, learn it 5 times.
And teach it to other people.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, hey, closing topic. What do you have any, this is super open-ended. Do you have any general thoughts on Phase 0 in general? Like, we can start. I had a really good experience with it. I think the more time you have to devote to it, the better off you are. And I know, well, actually, some of the people I know that were really busy, they did pass the assessment. But like, I'm not going to talk about specifics, and it's not a big deal. We talked about this last episode. If you repeat in DBC, that's not a bad thing. Their goal is that you are a junior level developer. That's not the goal, but that's one way of surmising it. When you get out, you have the knowledge, and I guess that's the knowledge of roughly a junior level developer. And they're not going to pass anyone that doesn't have that knowledge. And they don't care how long it takes you to learn it. They just care that you learn it. And if you repeat twice, I think the policy right now is that they ask you to leave the program, but they give you a full refund on your tuition. where they're just saying like, hey, this might not be the path for you.
Prorated. So it's cut in half for the if you repeat twice, you essentially pay for the phase 0 portion, but not for the phase 1.
But I think phase 0 is like 1,000, right? Like
that's money. That's the deposit. I think
there's something like there's something with it.
You pay a deposit, you don't get that deposit like either way. But if you like do phase 0 for the first 3 weeks, you're like, no, this programming thing isn't me. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's if you quit. I think it's different if they tell you should do something else. I think they just give you a full refund.
Cool.
That's how that works. Which, I mean, since the time of this video, that might change. But so that being said, though, I actually know multiple people that wound up repeating, and which I don't know. It's funny. On the one hand, I expected the assessment to be challenging, and I did expect people to repeat. And like I said, it's not a good or a bad thing. You know, it's that they want you to be at a certain level when you hit campus. And some of the people I think had the option to go on, and they decided to repeat, like it was their choice, because that happens too. Yeah, but it's I think phase 0 is really well done. And again, like I said, though, the more time you can put in the phase 0 and the more time you have to do prep, the better. You don't have to do that, but if you can do that, do it.
I agree with that.
And it's amazing how much we learned. It feels really short now that it's over, even though it felt really long while it was happening. I had a great experience. I think the staff is super supportive. Something I should have done and I never did is take advantage of office hours.
Yep, me neither.
And what I realized I should have done, okay, this is something I would have done different. I think, okay, like if 20 people take this idea from here, they'll probably shut it down. But if you're a first adapter, get in there. I think it'd be awesome to do office hours, but not have any questions. And be like, hey, I just want to see what other people are asking. Because people like come in with their problems, and these advisors that are like, you know, in the industry, talk them through how to do these assignments.
Yeah.
And so like, imagine how much you will learn if you just spent an hour every day in the office. Again, like I said, I think like even if 10 people were doing it all at the same time, they'd kind of be like, this isn't great. But this is one of those like don't ask permission kind of ideas.
Yeah.
Like ask for forgiveness afterwards. And it's your education. Like why hold yourself back on the basis of good social graces? Like do everything you can to learn.
Yeah.
And I think everyone appreciates when you're really hungry for knowledge, even if you're like that kid where they're like, okay, yeah, don't do that.
It's just a phase 0 itself too is also a great opportunity to get to know people in your cohort. You're going to be working with these folks for another 9 weeks, so make it a priority to reach out to them and communicate with them. Try pairing with them in person. Like you will have like online pairings and Google Hangout pairings, but if there's ever an opportunity to like make an Austin or a Chicago Slack channel and jump in that and communicate with everyone in your group, do it.
Yeah, that's really great. And if no one's scheduling public events, frickin' do it yourself. Yeah. Like get like 1 or 2 like-minded people, maybe like directly message them, but
get to know
it going on your own.
Because when you're working and sweating with them in phase 1, it's going to be really helpful that you're like established a relationship with them.
And I'll also say, in my experience, this is just socializing in general. Like most people are receptive. Even just like acting as a friend, when you make the invitation for friendship, most people are receptive to that. It's just most people aren't willing to do the first step. And I think it's the same thing. Like if you put together a study group, be like, hey, every Tuesday, let's hang out at this place and I'll just work on whatever we're working on.
Yep.
Like people will love that, and they will like ask you about it, and they'll be like really excited, and you'll be sort of at the center of it. But like very few people will actually take the initiative to do it themselves, either because they're nervous and that's something else to realize. Like everyone's nervous and everyone's wrapped up in their head, like self-conscious about stuff. Like maybe less so when you get older, but everyone's having those thoughts. And so it's not an issue of whether or not you're having those thoughts. It's an issue of just just do the thing anyway. Like, don't get in your own way. Like, don't let yourself stand in the path of your own success. And I think, like The Alchemist, I think talks about the Paulo Coelho book. I just rebought it. Apparently, when I was at the airport back from Thailand, like that was one of my favorite books in college. And there was a great quote in it. Maybe it's in his introduction where he said, many people wind up failing right when they've reached success. And it's like oftentimes what holds us back is not just our fear of failure, but our fear of success. Okay, we're getting into like culture talks, DBC, this is my background. But, and the flip side to what Mitchell was saying, it's absolutely great to pair with people that are on your campus, especially in person. But I think Phase Zero is kind of your one chance to meet people at the other campuses too. So it doesn't hurt to pair with people. Like I might even encourage, like maybe half the time at least, like try to pair with people that aren't going to your campus. And you never know. Like we're all going to be job hunting. You might end up doing a job in a different city when you get out of school. So if you already know some people at the Dev Bootcamp there, like that'll make it easier. I at least plan on reaching out to whichever DBC campus is in my neighborhood I end up in. But it just is a little more socially comfortable if you already know a couple of people there that can introduce you, or, just familiar faces.
I agree. It's important just to reach out in general.
So, oh my God, we start 2 days from now.
Can't wait.
Phase 1. And there will be more broadcasts. That's the knock on wood. As this is going, and the format's going to change a little different in that I'll probably talk to groups of people from specific campuses. And but yeah, so stay tuned. If people are enjoying this programming, she'll like, subscribe, share, like, subscribe. We'll definitely have Mitchell back on. He's but like I said, I feel like you're really into this, and I'm taking soundboards whenever I talk to you.
Yeah, it was great to talk to you too. This is just right. So let's keep going.
So goodbye, audience. Bye.
Good luck, guys. Good luck.
Good luck to us too.
Yes.